What is up, everybody? It is June 28th, 2020. I'm your host, Justin. As always, I'm joined by Perry.
Hey Justin, and dude, did I see you on the cover of GQ today?
I don't believe so.
They're doing something wrong over there then.
Thank you. Thank you.
That magazine's gone downhill.
Right? And today we have a special guest. We got Spencer the Guru, good buddy of mine. He's if you guys aren't following him on Instagram, make sure you do. Get over there and follow him. A great follow, tons of information, and tons of mock drafts. I love those things, man.
Yes, sir. Mock Draft Monday, every Monday. Y'all go check it out at Spencer the Guru on Instagram. Guru Nation, baby.
Hell yeah.
What you got going on new, Spence?
Going on new, the latest thing lately has been the Fantasy Football Throwing League over on IG. It's been nuts, y'all. We're 10 rounds in, or almost 10 rounds in, and it's been over a week now. It's been a slow draft where the followers get to help us draft our teams, and so each community's been really into it. It's been a lot of excitement over there on IG for all 12 accounts in the league. And I know you, Justin, are in our war room for that league, and as you know, our war room is really lit right now. Everyone's chiming in like, who should we pick? Who should we pick?
Man,
so it's been a lot of fun.
Heated conversations in there on players.
Oh yeah, man, it's wild. Like something like with Coleman and Henderson, you had your passionate Daryl Henderson truthers for round 10, and you had your passionate Tevin Coleman people. And so it was really split. And Coleman ended up winning out, so you won that one, man.
It cracks me up
because people like Coleman.
Yeah, people start getting into round. They'll start looking like 4 rounds out. Like, but who should we get in 4 rounds? It's like, whoa, guys, let's stay focused here.
Right. Yeah.
We're not agreeing on this pick.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun over there. They're doing mock draft Mondays, live Q&As, and then daily posts with improved graphics. So yeah, y'all go check it out. It's been a lot of fun.
It's the last episode of the month for us. So Perry, you want to announce the winner of the autographed jersey?
Yeah. So the autographed Andre Reed jersey is gonna go to Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I really hope it's the real guy.
No, so it's the French spelling of Joe Burrow. Yeah, I mean, thank you for the support. Thanks for helping us out on YouTube, and yeah, we love doing this. Every month we'll do another one, and
send us your email so we could get that in the mail to you.
Yes, please.
It's the EAUX Burrow spelling.
Yeah.
Man, he might be from my home state, then Louisiana.
Yeah, Guru, was that you?
Did you just want to sign
It
on?
might be someone I know. It might be someone I know from my state. You never know. That wasn't me though. I'm more Saints than LSU.
Oh, okay. Man, yeah. So today we're gonna be speaking of Saints. Today we're covering the NFC South. Gonna do our breakdown fantasy wise. So we had to get Guru on here for sure. Talk about his Saints.
Yeah, the expert.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I watch them every week, and I dive deep into them. And yeah, I know all the ins and outs of them. And for fantasy, it's kind of one of those things where we've got a lot of stars, but then not as deep as some teams as far as depth, because we're like, with Mike and Kamara, like, the target hogs. But yeah, we'll dive deep into it, y'all. I'm excited.
Yeah,
right on.
Let's do it. So we'll go by position and break them down, starting with quarterbacks. Guru, as the guest, I'm gonna let you kick it off.
All righty. So you want me to just start off with the quarterback, Saints?
Yeah.
Or just whoever?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Brees. Drew
Yeah,
Brees.
yeah. As I say, I'll kick it off with Drew Brees, and I just gotta tell y'all, man, don't worry about Brees' age. Everyone's telling me, oh, he's too old. No, I'm not concerned about that, because last year at age 40, he was playing at a really high level still. Looked like he was still in the prime of his career. And so while he might decline a tad this season, I still think he'll be a QB1. He's my QB8 currently, and I feel confident drafting him around the mid-round, like the 8th round. I think it's a good sweet spot for him. I mean, he's not going to run. As we all know, he's a pure pocket passer, but he's arguably the most accurate passer in NFL history. He's so good at those short to intermediate routes that Michael Thomas Kamara, and now new addition Emmanuel Sanders, who I think is going to help him a lot. So I'm confident that Brees will be just fine. Not concerned about the age factor. And another thing people bring up is, Taysom Hill's going to be there to take stuff away. I like Taysom. He's one of my favorite players. Just bought his jersey, actually. However, as a Saints fan, I'm here to tell y'all, Taysom Hill is used sparingly. That's the key word there, sparingly. Sean Payton's not going to use him too much, especially when he's got still as the first ballot Hall of Famer in Drew Brees. So not worried about Taysom taking stuff from Drew. I feel like Drew's going to be just fine, and I'm confident drafting him in the top 10 of quarterbacks.
Yeah, man. Like, I completely agree. And I think the first mock draft I ever did with you, I got him in the very last round of the draft.
I remember that. Yeah, when it was set to dynasty rankings on Sleeper. And so Brees and Brady would always slip till really late because people wouldn't notice they were available. I remember I said that because I didn't even know Brees was available. I would assumed he was gone, but the freaking dynasty rankings had him as the 20-something ranked quarterback.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I have Drew Brees very high as well. Definitely. Right now, his ECR is behind Carson Wentz, which I think is that's silly. I think Drew Brees is way safer than Carson Wentz, and probably going to have a higher ceiling as well. So
yeah, there's a stat that I bring up every time I talk about Drew Brees, and it's that once he came back from his injury last year, he was the number 3 quarterback from then on for fantasy. So
exactly, no signs of being washed up, I'd say, and that's the argument everyone brings up to me. He's too old. Well, I don't agree.
Yeah, he's too old. He got hurt last year. Yeah, and he came back just fine.
Yeah, even stronger than before. It seemed like some people, he declined some at the end of 2018. Well, he proved all those doubters wrong with his performance last season.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Perry, you want to get into? I know you love this next guy.
Matty Ice, Mr. Ryan.
Yeah.
No, I do love Matt Ryan. I think that Matt Ryan often is a little bit of like the forgotten elite fantasy quarterback. I know that like he has seasons where he decides that he doesn't want to be all that good this season for whatever reason, but I really like Matt Ryan mostly for his value, how late you can get him in the draft, and the potential of just under 5,000 yards passing. Anywhere from 4,500 to 5,000 yards passing is almost a guarantee with Matt Ryan at this point. The touchdown numbers are always pretty high, mid-20s to even low 30s. So I think that I see no reason why that's going to be slowing down with Julio Jones is still Julio Jones. I know that he's getting a little bit older, but it's not like he's fallen off a cliff by any means. Calvin Ridley is going to just continue to improve. We'll talk about Calvin Ridley in just a moment. The addition of Todd Gurley, I think, is kind of it's just a lateral move in terms of skill increase or potential skill increase from Devontae Freeman, in my opinion, just because of Todd Gurley's injuries. But so I don't really think he helps Matt Ryan all that much, but I also don't think he hurts Matt Ryan all that much. So Matt Ryan right now is currently going at 8 in the expert consensus rankings. I think I've got him closer to 7, so just one spot higher, right behind Deshaun Watson. But honestly, I think I would almost rather have Matt Ryan than Deshaun Watson because I think there's bigger questions surrounding Deshaun Watson right now. Matt Ryan seems like the much safer pick.
And if I'm going late, him in a draft too.
Exactly. There's actually probably a pretty big drop off right there in terms of which round you're going to be taking Deshaun Watson versus which round you're going to take Matt Ryan, and much safer pick, much higher value there in my opinion. So I love Matt Ryan.
I'm not quite as high on him as you, but I do like him a lot.
Yeah. I mean, is it Matt Ryan or Josh Allen? I guess is kind of the question that I've been running into in drafts a lot.
Oh, that's tough because of the running of Josh Allen. He's great once they get to the goal line, but I think I'm going with Matt Ryan on that.
What about you, Guru?
I don't want to say that.
Hey, y'all are really drinking the Matty Ice Kool-Aid. I see. I like him though. I think he's top 10. I think he's solid. He's my QB9 at the moment. I actually have Drew Brees one spot ahead of him, as well as Josh Allen. I have Allen at 7 right now because of the rushing ability, and then I feel like it's kind of splitting hairs with Brees and Ryan. But I give the slight edge to Brees because I feel like he's going to be coming out with a vengeance this year. It might be his last season. I mean, he's got that TV deal lined up. So, I mean, even though he's playing at a high level, there's a good chance he might just ride off into the sunset. It's going to break my heart when he does, because he's been so good to my Saints all these years. But yeah, I'm telling you, he's going to come out with a vengeance. And while
Brees
I like Matty
is definitely
Ice,
my guy, too. I got Brees over him. I'm actually not super high on like Matt Ryan as I am lower on Josh Allen.
I got you. Yeah, Allen's just like is the rushing, I feel like, is going to keep him afloat for sure. He's due for some regression, though, in the touchdown department. So, yeah, I think Brees and Ryan could catch him. And I'd feel more confident about that in 6-point passing touchdown leagues rather than 4-point and 4-point. I'm taking Allen all day. But in 6 points for passing touchdowns, I could see myself taking Brees or Ryan over him.
I always play in 6-point touchdown leagues. So that's part of the reason why I love Matt Ryan so much. And I honestly, the rushing is clearly like a huge advantage for Josh Allen. I just think like for Josh Allen last season had 461 pass attempts. It's so low. I mean, Matt Ryan had 200 more pass attempts throughout the season. So it's just, I don't know. It's such a big difference. So I just prefer Matt Ryan, I think.
Yeah, we know him and Ryan and Brees are going to sling it. Allen might throw a little more this year with Stephon Diggs. But, I mean, with Brees and Ryan, like, they're so safe. I mean, and Ryan's got the weapons, like I said, Julio, and then Calvin Ridley, who I think is going to eat really well this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's probably
all right, Justin.
Big on him. Yeah, so, I mean, continuing with these just rock star quarterbacks, I'm going to get into Tom Brady here. The AFC or NFC South, like, it's crazy to think of the talent at quarterback that they have now, or especially if you look back to, like, the history of these players. But Tom Brady now, one of the best ever to play the game, taking the helm of the Bucs. Last year, Tom Brady's greatness did not translate into fantasy points, so that didn't work out so great. But now he's moved to Tampa with arguably the best wide receivers he's ever had in his career. He's 42 years old, but that didn't seem to, like, I didn't see a decline in him last year. I didn't see it wasn't like, oh, he doesn't have it anymore. He is still out there playing. It's just they didn't have a team around him anymore. And so he didn't look great. He had to throw the ball real quick. He's always been that way. You get pressure on Tom Brady, and he does make mistakes. He is not a god, as some people do believe. But
he is human now. He is human.
Yeah, apparently. But what makes Brady so great to me is his ability to adapt over time, because he doesn't have the arm that he did when he was younger. He has lost a little bit of oomph on that, but he has adapted to those shorter throws, and now it's kind of become like cliche to be like Tom Brady's like the king of the short passes. And going to the Bucs, he's going to have deep threats. He's going to have intermediate threats. He's going to have players in every position like that are able to win that way. So I think he's going to be just fine as a quarterback 1. I have him currently as my quarterback 8, just behind Drew Brees, for me. So I love Tom Brady this year. I think he's going to have a great year, and you could get him super late.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not quite as high on him as you, Justin. I mean, I think he'll be solid. He'll definitely see an uptick in production with Tampa Bay. However, I have him as QB 11 because I feel like that decline he showed last year is a bit of a concern. Not too much though, because like I said, he had no real supporting cast, and this year he'll have all the weapons in the world. However, I definitely feel like that declining arm strength could be a little bit of a concern, and just, I mean, I don't know how the Bucs O-line I think is okay, but I mean, at his age, I mean, he takes a couple big hits. I mean, it could rattle him some. I mean, I know he's arguably the greatest to ever do it, and I'm not betting against him per se, but I don't know. I just feel like there are some other guys that in that draft range I'd rather over him, like a Drew Brees and Matt Ryan for sure.
Yeah, so Drew Brees, I agree with. Matt Ryan, I have one spot behind him. So I basically have their division minus the Panthers, obviously, like back to back to back.
Yeah, I would definitely take Matt Ryan over Tom Brady. I do think Tom Brady is going to be better than, say, Carson Wentz, who is currently ranked number 9. I would rather have Tom Brady than Carson Wentz. I just think that with all the questions of Tom Brady, I think he's still a safer pick than Carson Wentz. I just don't trust Carson Wentz.
Yeah, less
Man,
injuries than Carson Wentz.
I don't hate Carson Wentz.
No, I mean, we talked about it last year that, Carson Wentz needs to prove it. Yeah, like people talk about how great he is, but he gets injured every year.
Yeah, and I also don't think that he performs up to his draft value. I just don't think that he's done that.
And he doesn't have the weapons either that Brady does.
Yeah, Brady's weapons are insane. So I don't know. It'll be fun
we'll
to
talk
watch.
about Carson Wentz here in a week or so.
All right, Justin, we got to talk about Teddy Bear.
Oh man,
Teddy Bear Bridgewater.
Right,
I'm
backup.
I'm gonna go
bridge over troubled water.
Right.
Yeah.
he was the bridge that got him through 2019.
Yes. Very well.
Yeah.
5-0. We were 5-0 with Teddy B. Man, he was a great game manager. Wasn't a fantasy option really, but he managed the games really well. We won with defense and running the ball. So yeah, I was okay with that.
Yeah.
I actually streamed him the week that he threw the 4 touchdowns, and I felt like a genius. I immediately dropped him after that.
Right, smart.
I'm gonna go over his stats real quick from last year, though.
Man.
So he completed 133 out of 196 attempts. That's 67.9%. That's awesome. For 1,384 yards and 9 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. And he had the lowest in intended air yards of all quarterbacks in 6.2 yards.
That sounds like Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, very conservative, just not fun to watch. I would get so frustrated. It's like, we need to put Taysom Hill in this damn game. This dude he just doesn't take shots. He's just too conservative, but it paid off, though. We got the results we wanted, so I was happy. But for fantasy, though, it's just frustrating. He's somebody, I know some people are kind of on his train, like, oh, they got Joe Brady calling the shots now in Carolina, which is good. CMC is still my number one. I love DJ Moore. They're going to eat well in Carolina, but as far as Teddy himself putting up big numbers, I just don't see it.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on that.
I think that there's a spot for Teddy in a 2 quarterback and super flex leagues for people that kind of wait on quarterback a little bit. If you ended up with Teddy as your second quarterback, it could work out. I could see him having a decent season, nowhere near the top 12, which is really what we're concerned about. But when he was in Minnesota and taking, 44 sacks, 39 sacks, this guy, I feel like he didn't truly get the opportunity to be successful. So I think that if Carolina can protect him, reasonably, he might be serviceable, right? If he can get around those 250 yards rushing in a 2 quarterback league, right? He'll get around 250, 300 yards rushing, maybe 2 to 3 rushing touchdowns. He could have a decent season and be serviceable in 2 quarterback leagues.
What I really love, though, about Teddy Bridgewater, to be on the positive side of him, the low air yardage is because he loves to check the ball down, and he has one of the best targets in the NFL. He has the best target in the NFL to do that too, with his running back. So I think that's fantastic. Still, again, I'm probably not drafting him at all, but I think he will finish to be a rosterable quarterback in a 2 quarterback league.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to some running backs. And Guru, you've got the kickoff here with running backs.
All right, well, I'll keep this Panthers thing going and kick it off with my man CMC, baby, Christian McCaffrey. He was my number 1 overall selection last year. A lot of people said, oh, you got to go Saquon. Oh, you're nuts for wanting CMC first. Well, like I told y'all, I was all in with CMC. I mean, I feel like, though, he's just a total package. I mean, for PPR leagues, he caught over 100 balls last year at 1,000 season. And, I saw somewhat of the concern. I kind of heard out the counter arguments, oh, he's small, yada, yada. But I just felt like, he was just too good the year before, and I felt like he was about to take that next step, and he sure did, and I feel like he'll be just fine this year. Like we mentioned, Teddy Bridgewater checking it down. a lot. He'll rack up those receptions. I think he'll have 100 catches or more once again. I don't know about the 1,000. That's going to be tough to repeat, but I definitely think he'll do well enough to be worth that number 1 overall value once again.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he was my 101 as well last season, so I was on board with you there.
Yeah,
I firmly believe that he could be like a top 12 receiver if he played wide receiver. He's that good at catching the ball. So
he's just one of the best football player to like ever be on that field at this point. Like,
yeah, he's just a
so
football
talented.
player, right?
yeah.
Yeah, he's just like an old school. He's a football player. Like,
Yeah.
he is just so freaking good, man. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about the Bucks real quick, Perry.
Okay, man.
Hey,
Better you than me. Better you than me.
Let's get, now that we talked about CMC, let's get into some real good running backs here. So the Bucks have Ronald Jones, or Rojo, and rookie Keyshawn Vaughn. It's Rojo's 3rd year, something that I didn't realize when I was actually looking stuff up for this. He's 23 years old this year, turning 23. So he's the same age as Keyshawn Vaughn, which is interesting because it's his 3rd year, and Keyshawn Vaughn is a rookie. So Bruce Arians came in and like he went and got Keyshawn Vaughn. Rojo was already on this team. Rojo really hasn't been that productive, and then they went and got Keyshawn Vaughn, which doesn't make me feel great about Rojo's chances there. He struggled in pass protection, which is always important, especially when your quarterback is named Tom Brady, because Tom Brady will bench Rojo if he misses a block. Like, Bruce Arians won't even get the chance to.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So, I expect that this is probably going to be like a 60-40 split in their backfield, like pretty close to even. And I think that Rojo will actually be on the lesser side of that. So I like Keyshawn Vaughn more than Rojo, just having the slight edge, because I do think he'll be the better pass blocker, thus getting on the field more. And he showed that he can also be a good receiver in the passing game in college.
My biggest gripe with Ronald Jones for his entire career so far is that he's just not a very good pass blocker. He just hasn't been since a rookie. It's why he was so bad his rookie season. He just can't stay on the field because he has a liability. And the fact that Tom Brady's there now, and we've all just mentioned how Tom Brady needs to be protected, it worries me big time for Ronald Jones.
Yeah, I feel that, man. I feel like Rojo's actually a pretty good value in drafts right now. He's been slipping really far because I feel like a lot of people are scared off. And a lot of people, I feel like, are maybe jumping the gun just a tad on Vaughn. I feel like Vaughn could do really well. Has a lot of upside. But for example, the Throne League, I believe there was a 3-round difference between the two. Like, Vaughn went in round 6 and Rojo went in round 9, which seemed like a bit steep to me. But I could see Vaughn, but I don't know. I'm not quite ready to ordain him just yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it'll be like a 60-40 split. So with that in mind, like, a 3-round difference probably is a little excessive. But I think the excessive side on that is the drafting of Vaughn, not so much Rojo. I think that it's a little, people are, you shouldn't reach up to the, what did you say, 3rd round or 6th round?
6th round.
6th round? Yeah. I'd probably wait a round or two later to grab Vaughn. But also Rojo in the 9th, I think that's an okay value as well.
I think the real trick here is knowing which one of these guys gets the goal line carries, because honestly, Tom Brady's running backs, I don't really want to touch any of them except the guy that gets the goal line carries. And I think we fully expect this offense to move the ball pretty well. So the running back that's getting it right down there within the 10-yard line is the guy that I would want to roster. And I'm not exactly sure who that's going to be. Maybe Ronald Jones, but we'll see.
Yeah, I would think that would be Ronald Jones to start anyway. But I mean, like y'all brought up with his pass blocking being so bad, it might just get to a point where he gets benched or something, and they go with somebody else. And there's still an outside chance that they sign Devonta Freeman.
Yeah,
right.
If that happens, Freeman, I'm loving Freeman at that point.
All right. I'll talk about Mr. Todd Gurley, running back for the Atlanta Falcons. I think anybody that listens to this show regularly knows that Justin and I are not gigantic fans of Todd Gurley in terms of fantasy. I think that he's been really fun to watch over his career. I think he's been incredible. He did kind of prove us a little bit wrong last season, Justin, in terms of fantasy value. I think that we were somewhat correct in terms of there's going to be a significant drop off in production or the amount of work, but the guy still had double-digit touchdowns, finishing with 12 touchdowns rushing, and I think he had a couple receiving as well. Yeah, 2 receiving touchdowns, so 14 touchdowns total out of your running back is pretty good. Justin, you were pretty high on Ito Smith last season. That didn't work out.
Not pan out.
I don't think it's going to be very much different this season. So I think Todd Gurley right now still holds quite a bit of value. I would not recommend Todd Gurley as your number 1 running back. I think if you could get Todd Gurley as your number 2 running back, that's pretty damn good, to be completely honest with you. This team, like I just said with the Bucks, this team is going to move the ball. The Falcons will go up and down that field. They will be scoring touchdowns. Somebody's got to score them, and arguably there's been nobody better around the goal line than Todd Gurley in the last 4 years. So, I mean, as long as his knee works out, they're going to give him these carries on the goal line. So I'm actually moving up a little bit on Todd Gurley. Chris Carson ahead of him seems insane to me at the moment with his injury uncertainty and the amount of running backs they're bringing in. So I definitely would want Todd Gurley over Chris Carson. At that point, it gets a little tighter, though, with Austin Eckler, Miles Sanders, Kenyon Drake. Those guys are guaranteed a lot more work. The injury risk is much, much lower with them. So right around like 13, 14 for Todd Gurley for me, running back wise.
I mean, I would rather have any of those guys except Chris Carson by quite a bit.
I think you're right. I think I'm on board with that. Yeah.
Yeah, just like I think, especially, I mean, Eckler 100% because
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
In PPR especially, he's gonna kill it, and he's younger, healthier. Like there's so much less risk with the running back that you're going to want to start every week with them being your second running back.
I think the Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler. I want Kenyon Drake more. I want Austin Eckler more. Miles Sanders, I still believe they're going to bring in another running back. I firmly believe that.
Man.
I think you're probably right, but until they do, I'm on the Miles Sanders train.
Right. I just hope we draft after they decide what they're going to do.
Right.
I feel that. Yeah, as far as Gurley, though, I'm not quite as high on him as you, Perry. I have him as my RB18. I think he's a decent RB2. But the arthritic knees still make me really nervous. And I feel like, he'll start off strong. I feel like Falcons are going to give him all the work he can handle. But I just have a feeling at some point mid-season, he's going to start to break down. And I feel like he's just going to be someone down the stretch. You're going to be like, ugh, why did I draft this guy? He carried me in the first half. And in the second half, it's just going to feel like it'll be a big headache. So because of that, I want guys that I feel like are going to, be steady and then have room for growth. Like, I just don't feel like there's much room for growth for Todd Gurley. So for that reason, at his current ADP, I'm staying away.
Yeah, we'll say if I end up with him, I'm probably trying to trade him if he starts off hot.
Yeah, I think that's probably the safe route is to try and trade him off if he starts hot.
Yeah, that's smart.
I just think that if the Falcons are smart, they're going to look at how the Rams used Todd Gurley last season, and they're going to try and replicate that because that seemed to work for him and his knees, right? So that amount of workload seemed really good.
Yeah, but they don't have much behind it, though.
Right.
The Falcons, with the Falcons, Brian Hill, Ito Smith, Quadri, Allison, none of those guys impressed me. So I think they're going to give Gurley a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah, either or they're going to give Julio Jones and Ridley a lot of work.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what I'm hoping
for.
Matt
Ryan.
Matt Ryan. I'm telling you guys. The return of the MVP. No, I'm just
kidding. He's going to outsling Mahomes. That's a counselor take right there.
Oh, gosh. All right, Justin, let's talk about this other guy. What's his name?
Do they have a quarterback?
Running
Well,
back?
you know,
Running
it's
back.
a AK
Oh,
time, baby. Alvin Kamara. Can't forget my boy Alvin.
Oh, I'm
Big
sorry.
Al.
Go
That's the
ahead.
last backfield we have to discuss. Yeah, Kamara and Latavius Murray. I'm feeling pretty good about Kamara. I mean, although last year down the stretch it was disappointing because he seemed to kind of lose that explosiveness that he had in the first half. However, I feel like this season, it's a contract year. He'll be playing for a new contract. He'll be extra motivated. And we know how good of a receiver he is out of the backfield. So I'm good with him as a mid-first round pick. I'm feeling good about that. I feel like some people though are getting a little too gung-ho. I noticed him lately because of the Dalvin Cook situation. Kamara's been creeping up to like 4, sometimes as high as 3rd overall. And I'm just like, whoa, pump the brakes a little bit. But like 5th or 6th overall, yeah, I'm on board. Then Latavius, a good handcuff option to get in like the 9th or 10th round, I'd say. Because if something would happen to Kamara, Lat Murray's a locked in RB2 with RB1 upside.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love Kamara. I remember watching him play last year, and like at the beginning of the season, there's just this one play that sticks out in my mind where he is catching the ball, and then he gets hit and like just pirouettes out of the the hit and just takes off down the field. I'm like, that's just amazing. Like, how did he do that? Defies physics.
Right?
Yeah, Alvin
Yeah.
Kamara's he's incredible. Right now, Derrick Henry is going ahead of Alvin Kamara. I firmly disagree with that. To be completely honest with you, I definitely want Alvin Kamara ahead of Derrick Henry. So
I think
know he's
Henry,
creeping up draft boards, but I think Henry's creeped up way too far.
Yeah, we were talking about this before, and even at the end of last season, Perry, like how Henry finished the season was going to stick out in people's mind, and they're going to disregard how he started the season.
He was terrible for the first half of the season, Derrick Henry, almost unstartable. So
he was that bad? I thought he was like an RB2 type thing. Wasn't that great, but was all right. But yeah, when Tannehill got in there, he took off really good. But yeah, if it's him versus Kamara, I'm taking Kamara all day, every day.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's get into some wide receivers now. Oh,
okay.
Guru,
yeah.
You want to talk about the New Orleans wide receiver?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was going to say, before we do, the NFC South, y'all, this division, my division I keep up with the most, the receivers are getting better and better, y'all. It's insane. I've watched the growth over the years here. And this season, I'd say there are 6 wideouts in the NFC South that could be WR1s. 6. So literally half of the WR1s could be from the NFC South this year. And we'll start it off with my man, can't guard Michael Thomas, the number 1 of the bunch. I mean, he's just so solid, so consistent. Even with some regression that he's due for, I don't think he'll catch 149 again. But I think he'll still catch over 120 for around 1,500 plus yards and 9 or 10 touchdowns. And to me, that's still elite WR1 production. I'm taking all day in the middle of the first. He's my WR1 overall, no doubt. I'm all in.
Yeah.
If he gets anywhere near the amount of targets that he had last season, there's no way he won't be the number 1.
Right, yeah, he's going to keep peppered with them. We know that. I mean, with Drew throwing it to him, yeah, they signed Sanders, but I mean, Sanders is getting a little up in age. He's good, but he's not going to kill Mike's statistics. Mike's going to eat well, per usual.
Yeah. How do you think Sanders will finish, though? Like, do you think he'll be a startable wide receiver?
I think he'll be most weeks. However, I think he'll be a bit erratic because that's how the Saints offense rolls. Coach Sean Payton, I love him, but he's kind of frustrating as far as like receivers, like the 2, 3, 4 receivers on the Saints. Like the years where we had Lance Moore, Robert Meacham, and Devery Henderson. Like other than Marcus Colston, like the rest of the receiving core was kind of inconsistent on a weekly basis. So I feel like that could be similar with Sanders. Like I think he'll have some weeks where he'll go off. And he'll have other weeks where he'll be like, where was Emmanuel Sanders? I think he'll be a little up and down. But overall, I think he'll be solid. I think he's a good WR4 who will be worth a flex a lot of weeks. I think he'll see a decent target share from Drew each week. But it's just, I don't know. I mean, with Mike being such a target hog and Kamara, I feel like his upside is somewhat capped.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I'm on board with that. Justin? Go for it, man.
Oh man, so I'm going to talk about Tampa Bay's wide receiver core here. I mean, they got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin there. Like you said, I mean, both of those guys could finish as wide receiver 1s and probably should. The biggest obstacle to Mike Evans' fantasy dominance is going to be his own teammates. He's got Chris Godwin there, and if you look at their stats last year, they would alternate on the week that who was going to explode. It reminded me of like Juju and Antonio Brown back in when Big Ben, they're there with Big Ben, just alternating weeks on who's exploding. You game plan for one, and the other one kills you. Because of this, like they have Brady coming in. I think that's gonna bring the value down a little bit in terms of he's not going to just launch the ball down the field like Winston did and just rack up fantasy numbers. But he's also great at reading defenses. So when they do game plan for one, the other one is going to feast. He can read that double coverage, so he's not going to be just throwing it into double coverage and throwing interceptions, which is going to help their fantasy value. The volume I expect to come down a little bit of the throwing, as I don't think they'll be playing from behind as much. But I think both these guys can have the ability to be a wide receiver one. And I'm going with Godwin personally because I believe and he'll be running more of these short slant routes that Tom Brady loves to throw to, as Evans likes to stretch the field more. And as we talked about with Brady's arm strength, that's kind of what has hurt him with his age. So I like Godwin more between the two of them. But I think there's going to be weeks where Evans is the number one wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can see that. Yeah, I think they'll both be WR1s. And yeah, I prefer Godwin slightly over Evans because I feel like he'll see more targets. And with the addition of Gronk, I feel like that could hurt Evans a bit as far as red zone looks, because before Gronk, Evans was like, the biggest body there, where with Gronk in there now is probably going to take away a couple touchdowns. Nothing too drastic, though. So I'm on board both of them as WR1s. I have Godwin as my WR6 at the moment, and Evans as my WR8. So I feel like they'll both eat well with Brady at the helm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm expecting a little bit of a downtick in Godwin from last season, or the pace he was on last season, but certainly not like falling off by any means. So, okay, I want to talk about the Panthers wide receivers real quick, specifically DJ Moore. I think that DJ Moore has fallen pretty far, and I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe you guys have some insight, but I mean, is it the Teddy Bridgewater? Is that why DJ Moore is down at 15 right now for wide receiver?
I don't think so, because it's not like Kyle Allen was a rock star.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling people. I don't understand this. I made a post about this the other day on Instagram. I was like, y'all, DJ Moore, I feel like the WR1. He's had a breakout second half, and he's got a QB upgrade. Like, I'm all in on DJ Moore.
Yeah, I like him, and I think that he's being forgotten about, just not for any particular reason.
Yeah, of wide receivers outside the top 12, I think DJ Moore is the most likely to break into the top 12 by end of season rankings. I think that his potential is extremely high. I think the Robbie Anderson signing is actually very, very helpful to DJ Moore, right? It's just going to open up the field a whole lot more for him. We talk about touchdown regression all the time. The fact that this guy only scored 4 touchdowns last season, that number's going up. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he's going to score at least 6, possibly even more than that. And I don't think he's going to. I think the yardage number possibly goes up as well. That just under 1,200 yards. I think maybe he'll sit right around 1,200. But that touchdown number will go up. There's no doubt in my mind. I really like DJ Moore, and where he's sitting in overall value or overall rankings. Very easily, if you go running back, DJ Moore could be your first wide receiver and he has wide receiver 1 upside. So for me, that's kind of the strategy I've been looking at in the draft is, running back, and then grabbing somebody like DJ Moore as my 3rd pick. So
I want the other 2 wide receivers there, like that are worth mentioning, Robbie Anderson and Kurtis Samuel. Like, I wish Robbie Anderson didn't come there for Kurtis Samuel's sake. Because both these guys are very fast, speedy dudes. Robbie Anderson was one of the best wide receivers in the free agency this year, and he ended up going to Carolina, obviously. Kurtis Samuel kind of didn't really pan out last year for fantasy-wise, but it wasn't his fault he didn't pan out. He had 54 catches out of 106 targets, which is horrible. But then when you look at it, I forgot what the percent was, but it was like hardly any of these passes were catchable passes. And when you go look at Matt Harmon's like reception perception, he scores, I believe, the highest on it completely. Almost every route he ran, he over 90% of the time he had at least 3 yards of separation on the defender, which is ridiculous. That's just a missed opportunity from the quarterback. So I want to believe in this dude, but bringing Robbie Anderson in really brought his value down because his opportunity is going to be less now.
Yep. As for Robbie Anderson, I think that honestly, we saw his ceiling. We saw his peak already. I don't think that he's going to outscore what he was doing in New York, which wasn't incredible by any means. And he's falling right around where some of these rookie wide receivers are coming up. And I think I would honestly rather take a chance on one of these young guys than go draft Robbie Anderson, who's got Teddy Bridgewater, who's a conservative quarterback, and Robbie Anderson's arguably the third wide receiver on the team.
Yeah, he's competing with Kurtis Samuel.
Right. So I'm going to take somebody like Jerry Jeudy instead. I'm a Broncos fan, so
I mean, I'm taking
sure.
Jeudy
Hey, Broncos
for sure.
fans or no Broncos fan, I would take Jeudy all day. I'd take all of that Jeudy, Rager, Ruggs, Denzel Mims even at this point. I think I'd rather over Anderson. Anderson, I just don't think is going to do too well there because Samuel's going to get his share of targets, being that he's more of a fit for Bridgewater. That's why I was kind of surprised they signed Robbie Anderson. I mean, I get it, take the top off the defense, open the field up. But yeah, for fantasy, I don't think he's going to be all that great. I think a lot of weeks he'll almost serve almost like a decoy. Like he will be used sparingly. I feel like Moore, Samuel, and McCaffrey are going to get the majority of the targets.
100%. Yep. Okay, and now I've got the Falcons, right? Is that where I'm not jumping ahead of anybody?
Last receiving core. Yeah,
okay.
I don't like the Falcons, the dirty birds, but you can't forget their receiving core. They've got a couple of studs there.
Yes, they do. Yeah, so Julio Jones, I mean, this guy's incredible. I mean, Julio Jones, I feel like Julio Jones is a little bit forgotten actually this season, which is insane.
It's like people just get bored with him. Oh, Barry, another 100 catches for 1,300 yards. Oh,
right.
Do
Tyreek Hill being ranked ahead of Julio Jones does not seem smart to me. I get what Tyreek Hill can do week to week. He'll win you a week on his own easily. I get that, but he'll also lose you like 3 weeks because he has, 4 catches for 64 yards, and that's all he does. So Julio Jones, I'm definitely going to take above Tyreek Hill. There's no doubt in my mind. So Julio Jones is my wide receiver 3 at the moment, behind Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams. I don't see a giant drop-off for Julio Jones this season, maybe slightly, but a slight drop-off for him might be, 1,200 yards and 5 to 6 touchdowns. That's fine, right? If I get that, I'd like a little bit more scoring, but I'll live with it, right? The reason there might be a drop-off is because Calvin Ridley, the ascension of Calvin Ridley, I think it's pretty much a guarantee at this point, right? As close as there is for the second wide receiver on a team. I think there's going to be 1,000-yard receiving yards this season. Wow, man, I struggled through that. I think that's happening finally for Calvin Ridley in his 3rd season. That's 10 touchdowns in his rookie season, 7 last season. I think he'll sit right in that window again. I really like Calvin Ridley. His value is incredible. You're going to get him as your second wide receiver pretty easily. That's awesome, right? Like if you went like with DJ Moore, who I talked about just a minute ago, and Calvin Ridley, there's a lot of really nice upside there from these 2 young guys. So
I think like Calvin Ridley, he could, like, I'm not saying he's going to, but I think he has an opportunity to have a Chris Godwin type season to where he's overtaking this guy who's been there dominant, like throwing up these stats year after year. And just like last year, though, it's Mike Evans still killed it, still over 1,000 yards. I have Julio as my number 3 wide receiver overall, but I think that Ridley has an opportunity this year and the talent to actually maybe make me wrong and surpass where Julio is and take over as the wide receiver 1 there.
Yeah.
I love both of these guys, and they're the only two wide receivers that are even you could even think about grabbing on this team. I want to say they account for over like 60-70% of the passes on this team.
Yeah, I think Calvin Ridley is somebody that I'd really like to reach for, right? I don't like reaching in the draft all that often, but Calvin Ridley is somebody with the potential upside that he has. I would reach for Calvin Ridley to make sure I got him as my wide receiver too. So I don't often recommend that, but
I kind of feel that though. Yeah, I think he's got a lot of potential, which is why I've got Julio actually as my WR5. I have D Hop and Hill slightly above him. I think he'll be just fine though as far as being an elite WR1. Ridley, I think I have him as like my WR14 or 15. I have him as a high end WR2. And so yeah, I'm definitely on board with taking him in like around the 4th round. I think that's a good range for him, especially if you take 2 running backs and a receiver to start, and you could have Ridley to complete that core 4. I think that's a good way to start a draft.
yeah, if you fall on the turn at the 12 spot and you go running back, and then go DJ Moore, Calvin Ridley right there on the turn, that's a pretty hot start. So
Yeah, I love it.
all right,
Let's
move on to the tight ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the least appealing position in the division. The quarterback, running backs, receivers all popping, like eye popping. Where tight end, you just kind of like, You want me to start off with my Saints tight end?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
All right, we'll start off with old Jared Cook, the safe, steady veteran. I mean, I think he'll be just fine, as like a tight end 1, fringe top 10. I mean, it's just he's probably not gonna get a stable like reception total each week. I think it's gonna be some weeks he'll get targeted more than others, but he's that red zone guy, y'all. He's still the big body target that Drew Brees is gonna look to in that red zone, 10 zone, as y'all like to say in the footballers. I know bring it up to the 10 zone's a huge thing, and so I think Cook's gonna do well in that range. I think he'll catch 8 to 10 touchdowns. But with him getting older, I don't think his receptions and yardage will be all that great. But I think he'll catch enough touchdowns to still remain a tight end 1. He's my tight end 10 at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's one of the safer tight ends, I feel like. Like, he's kind of guaranteed some volume, you know what I mean, on this offense and touchdown opportunities.
Yeah. Justin, go ahead. Let's talk about Tampa Bay.
All right, so the Bucks, they got Gronk, they got OJ Howard, they got Cameron Brate. They plan on running a 2 tight end set this year. This is going to be extremely frustrating for fantasy owners, and I would not recommend you take any of them. I would avoid all of them altogether, because unless you're in a deep league, a very deep league, and you have, I was rostering 2 tight ends. The only one I might take a shot at for his price is OJ Howard, which I would not feel great about. But I think I would let someone else grab Gronk, because he keeps going up draft boards. He just keeps rising. And it's not guaranteed production. He's been removed from the league after many injuries for, over a year, and moved to a new offense. Like, there's a lot of question marks there. That's not something where I'm grabbing when I could get, reaching up in a draft to get. I would way rather have like Cook or tons of other tight, basically any other tight end in this division I would rather have.
Yeah, okay. I'm not really feeling Gronk either. Yeah, I agree. Gronk is just he's just going to be too erratic. I feel like he's going to be very touchdown dependent, which Cook might be a little touchdown dependent too, but I think he'll get a more stable target share with Gronk. OJ Howard, Cameron Brate there. It's just, he's not going to be consistent. He's somebody I'm staying away from in his current ADP.
Yeah, I mean, 10th ranked tight end is pretty tight for me for Gronk. All right, I'm going to talk about Hayden Hearst real quick. I think Hayden Hearst upside is nobody's really it's not a secret anymore. Hayden Hearst has incredible
the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, incredible upside here with Austin Hooper gone, with Devontae Freeman gone, with Mohamed Sanu gone. There are a lot of vacated targets there to be had, 200 plus actually. I think Hayden Hearst getting 100 targets this season is nowhere out of the question. And if he becomes productive with those targets, that number could go up even higher. Austin Hooper going ahead of Hayden Hearst is just the one of the most insane jokes I've seen in terms of right now ADP, in my opinion. Austin Hooper did not get an upgrade going to Cleveland by any means in terms of situation. Hayden Hearst, on the other hand, had an incredible upgrade going to Atlanta, leaving Baltimore. Mark Andrews is going to be the guy there, no doubt about it. So Hayden Hearst, who has been productive when he got the opportunity, now he's the only guy in town. He's the only show on the road. So I really like Hayden Hearst right now, ranked 12th in ECR. That's pretty incredible, the value that you're getting from him.
His ADP's even lower. His ADP's at tight end 16.
Right. Wow. So I think
ridiculous.
I think what's going on is a lot of us, we all know what Hayden Hearst can do, probably will do, will have the opportunity to do. I think the casual fantasy player right now who's just starting their mock drafts and that sort of thing, they probably don't realize exactly where Hayden Hearst is at. He will creep up draft boards. There's no doubt in my mind. I would rather have him than Austin Hooper. I'd rather have him than Gronk. I'd rather have him than Jared Cook, to be honest with you. I'd probably even rather have him than Tyler Higbee. So that puts him right there at like 7.
Noah Fant. I would rather have him than Noah Fant.
Yeah, I think I would. Noah Fant, I do like Noah Fant's upside, right? I've talked about this on the show before. I think that Noah Fant's really talented, but the situation in Atlanta, man, he's got Matt Ryan throwing to him. It's an offense that's going to move. It's going to be good.
And he's shown he can produce. Like Noah Fant, we're still banking on him taking advantage of an opportunity that he's given, as we've seen Hayden Hearst do that.
Right. I like Hayden Hearst a lot. I think he's an incredible value right now. If you don't get one of those like top 2, top 3 tight ends, I'm sitting and just waiting and grabbing somebody like Hayden Hearst.
Yeah, the thing with Hurst is ADP starting to creep up. Yeah, in the Throne League, for example, he got scooped up in I think it was the 8th round. I mean, people are seeing the light on Hurst. I have him. I'm not quite as high on him as some. I have him as my tight end 13, but I might continue to move him up because he's starting to grow on me. At the beginning of the off season, I saw he got traded to the Falcons. Like, well, that's good. I was like, well, he hadn't done anything in his career. But then I started thinking, I was like, oh wait, well, this guy was a former first round pick. And he's just kind of been stuck in a kind of a bad situation in Baltimore as far as volume. But now that he's in Atlanta, he's going to get the volume. So, yeah, I could see him finishing as a tight end 1 for sure. But I just have a feeling in a lot of, especially like in industry drafts, there's going to be somebody that's going to be like, look what I just did. I took Hayden Hurst early. I think he's just going to get reached on.
There's always that expert that is the reason why he's moving up the ECR. He has him way higher than everyone else.
Right, yeah, and like your casual leagues, like your live draft drinking beer leagues, will probably get him at a steal value, I would say.
Yeah, no doubt. I just as give everybody some context. Mark Andrews had 98 targets last season, 852 yards and 10 touchdowns. That stat line, there's no doubt in my mind that could happen for Hayden Hearst next season. Right around 100 targets, right around 900 yards, and creeping towards the double-digit touchdowns. Just because we know Atlanta's going to score, they're definitely going to score. So, yeah.
No, yeah, I love it. We have one more tight end, right?
I guess so. I guess we have to.
Yeah, this guy could be all right. The last guy.
This another guy. Thomas. Yeah, I like him late in drafts. Sometimes when I wait till the very end to grab a tight end, I've actually grabbed him a few times.
All right, well then you can talk about him.
All right, well this is why I like him. He's 6'3", 259 pounds, and he's fast. He ran a 4.74 40-yard dash. They shipped out the veteran tight end there to bring him, open up opportunities for him. Kurtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson are not good red zone targets. They're not big bodied dudes. DJ Moore, obviously, I think he'll do just fine in the red zone. But Ian Thomas is going to be a red zone monster, I think. So, and he's got a 36-inch vertical for that big of a dude is insane. So he's just an athletic dude. So I think that he's going to get plenty of opportunity there, and Bridgewater likes to check down. Tight ends are great check down options. I don't think that I don't have him ranked inside my tight end 1 area, but I do think that he has an he has the possibility to make it inside the tight end 1. that some of the guys that are back there do not have. So if you wait on tight ends, some people take 2 tight ends or do whatever, and so it's super scarce at tight end. This is a guy I might grab. Or if you have like some sort of very large league with lots of roster spots, I would grab him for sure.
Yeah, I do think that Ian Thomas right now where he's ranked is far too low. I do agree with that. I just think that there's so many, and if you're in like just a single tight end league, redraft league, I just think there's other guys that I want ahead of him. There's too many other guys that I would take ahead of him for me to be all that interested, but there's definitely upside here.
Agreed. Yeah, he's not really on the redraft radar for me. But yeah, if you're in some weird league, it's like 2 tight ends or something, then yeah, I could definitely see taking him. And he's somebody that I feel like we're going to be seeing as like a waiver wire option a lot of weeks. Like if our tight end's on bye week or if we have an injury, like he could be somebody that could creep into the conversation.
For sure.
Yeah.
And like in dynasty leagues, I like him. But I can't believe he's ranked below Greg Olsen.
Yeah, that's nuts
Right.
to me. Yeah, I'd definitely take Thomas. Because yeah, Olsen, they'll still have Hollister there, and Disley's coming back. I don't think Olsen's gonna do very well
Yeah.
in Seattle.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps up the AFC South. Appreciate you coming on
NFC
with
South.
or NFC. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
NFC South. Thanks for coming on with us, Guru. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, it was a good time. I'm good to chop it up with y'all, talking about the division I've been studying my whole life. So yeah, it's been it's cool to see. I tell y'all what, the receiver position, y'all, it's just insane. I mean, quarterback too.
This whole
Quarterback,
division,
too.
just
Yeah,
fantasy wise.
Oh, it's just like it is a fantasy. It's just even real. Like it's just so stacked. It's just it's fun to talk about.
Yeah. Being a 49er fan, it's nice to see we have like one player that is fantasy like.
One more time, Guru, tell everybody where they can find you, man.
Yeah, man, it's pretty straightforward now. At Spencer the Guru on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you're at. Just type in at Spencer the Guru, and it'll be there. Y'all go check it out. We got a lot of fresh new content up, and of course on IG, the Throne League. It's in the middle of that heat of the moment. So yeah, y'all go check it out. At Spencer the Guru.
Awesome. So everybody, management team, go show him some love, please. Also show us some love. Give us a comment, a like down on this video. Justin and I will announce next episode what the next giveaway is going to be. So look forward to that. But yeah, thank you, everybody, and we'll see you soon.